What's up? Welcome to the Mark Z Drumcast. There goes my mouse. I have no control over anything right now. I want to welcome you to this Wednesday edition on this rainy Wednesday. The Mark Z Drumcast coming to you live from the MarkZDrums Studios, brought to you by MarkZDrums Patreon. If you want to help support, if you want to be a part of what's going on here in MarkZDrums Studios and on the web and all of the work that we're doing, helping students and helping to bring drumming to the greater, wider world and helping people achieve their dreams and goals and get started on the road to drumming, go ahead to my Patreon page, MarkZDrums, Z as in zebra, on Patreon, and go ahead and become a member. If you can't do that or you don't want to do that, I'm appreciative of any support, comments, likes, shares. If you get something good out of this video, please share it with a friend. Follows, whatever, subscriptions, comments, thumbs ups, hellos, whatever. I'm very happy for the support. I am the owner and founder of MarkZDrums. My name is Mark Zapata. I am your host for the Mark Z Drumcast, which can be found on YouTube most Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays around this time of the day. And besides that, you can visit me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads even, maybe if that's still a thing. And you can come and say hello and you can check out my content. I've been dealing with some Facebook stuff, some meta stuff, whatever you call it, in this ever-changing world of ours where all the technologies and the socials are just constantly changing for no reason. One of the things that I've been noticing is, I don't know if any of you guys know what shadow ban is. Apparently I did something or posted something that Facebook doesn't like. These days it seems like Facebook and Meta, they don't like anything that's real. They want to create a fantasy world of rainbows and unicorns and roses and popcorn and candy. What am I thinking of? And cotton candy and all of that stuff. That's what they want their world to be. So if you post anything that's even adult in nature, anything that uses strong language, and forget about it if you criticize anything. There you go. You just may get shadow banned. You don't even get a warning. You don't have the days of the warnings are over. Now you just get severely restricted with your content not getting seen by very many people at all. And then I started noticing, the same two people are liking my posts. And I even put up a post that said, have I been shadow banned or am I just super boring? And I don't know. Either one of those things could be true, to be quite honest. I do my best over here at MarkZDrums, and I try to present content that is relevant to drumming and honestly, sometimes relevant to life. I'm not always super, supportive of certain things. So I do have my complaints and sometimes I go on my rants, but I have to be very careful lest I get shadow banned. Anyway, this video just might get me banned on YouTube. I don't know. I don't know how all of this stuff works anyway, to be honest with you. So apparently, my Christmas drum cover songs have been a problem on some platforms. All right, whatever, I get it. I'm not doing it to rip anybody off. And I'm an artist myself, and I have plenty of music out there that I have helped create. And I understand. I would rather there be somebody looking out for the artist, because I'm a strong believer that the creator of the content should be compensated fairly for their efforts in a world where so much is just free online. Artists have taken to putting their own music, their brand new releases up on YouTube for free. just to gain looks, just to gain exposure. And so the times of selling music and actually profiting from your creation, from your music, those days are long gone. So while I do support the policing of online content and I do support artists being fairly compensated, let's face it, it's way too late for that. Okay? So to punish people that are just trying to create and collaborate and make people happy by playing drums to Christmas songs uh, that are have been my favorite for years and years and years. To me, it's just a little too late. The whole industry has changed to the point where it's unrecognizable from where it was years ago, where you could make a record, sell that record, and make money from the sale of that record. That's no longer the case. You have to make that record, then you have to go out and you have to gain your own popularity. So, in other words, you have to get on and hustle on the socials and you have to get your music out there and you have to get you have to get people to somehow leave their homes to come and see you perform live. And then you have to sell t-shirts and drum lessons or guitar lessons or meet and greets or VIP experiences just to make any money. You have to bust your ass and go out on tour because the industry has decided that music should be free for all. You know, that people should be able to pay a small fee per month and be able to rent millions upon millions and millions upon millions of songs, and they only have to pay the artist 1% per stream of their music that they created. So I don't even know why I got onto this. It's just crazy to me how the copyright stuff online is just like so clamped down, but at the same time, artists aren't making money off the music anyway. So it's really convoluted. It's a little bit ass backwards. But the time to protect artists and their music was years and years and years ago when streaming started happening. And, but like I said, too little, too late. The actors and writers have struck a blow for creatives in this country, and they have been able to, after many, many years of it not being this way, they were able to at least bring their compensation into the new model where they are now being paid and compensated for these things. You know, the studios, they want to go to streaming, and then all of a sudden, once everything is on streaming, nobody gets paid for it anymore. The creators don't get paid for it anymore. So, of course, the studios wanted to roll with that model. The big companies these big streaming companies want to run with that model. Hold on a second. And because now they don't have to pay anybody, but they're still losing money streaming, which is the craziest thing ever because they're still losing a lot of money streaming. And the whole model is flawed. The way it's set up is flawed. They're not going to make any money. Yet the promise of streaming, and this should be a podcast on the Drinking with Friends podcast. This is what we were going to talk about. But I'm fired up right now, so I apologize if this is not what you want to hear. But the whole idea of streaming was that we were going to be able to pick and choose what we wanted to consume, right? What we wanted to see, what we wanted to watch. And then if you remember, there was a time where we had a TiVo and we had a DVR where we could fast forward through commercials. What a great thing. And so they began doing that and then quickly realized that it was a terrible idea for them because all their money was coming in from advertising. The revenue was from advertising. They said, well, this is the worst idea we've ever had. So now we're going to introduce commercials back into the streaming. And now we're going to make it so you can't turn the commercials off at all. Okay, so back before DVR and back before digital cable, we couldn't turn off commercials. We just had to sit through them, right? And so we've gone through all of this rigmarole about, oh, we're going to go streaming now, and then we're going to fast forward through the commercials, and we're going to do this, that, and the other thing to land us right back where we started. Right? When you're watching a show on streaming, there's a section, a bulk of commercials that come up that you cannot fast forward through, that you have to sit through. Some of them you can, but for the most part you can't. So now we've ended up in a situation where we're right back to where we were before digital, when we used to have to get up and turn the knobs on our TVs to change the volume and to change the channel, and where you couldn't fast forward through a commercial. Not only that, but you have Disney Plus and Netflix that are, oh my God, why is everybody choosing to call me now? You have Netflix and you have Disney Plus, that the platform was no commercials. You know, when Netflix came out, when it first came out, it said no commercials. So now if you want a commercial-free experience, you have to pay more than what you were originally paying. Because whatever you were originally paying, they just dumped the commercials back in your lap. And I said, well, we're not going to raise your per month, we're not going to raise your monthly fee. But now you've got commercials. And if you don't want commercials, Disney Plus did the same thing. If you don't want commercials, now you got to pay a higher price. So technically, we didn't raise your rate. We just changed your service on you to something that's really undesirable. So that was super fun. And like I said, it's just the craziest thing that these companies have botched the streaming model so bad that now we're back to commercials that we cannot fast forward through. And we're hunting and rooting around in the dirt to find out where this movie we want to watch, who's got it on what streaming service. And there's about 50 of them out there. And so when you're trying to now find a movie or a TV show that you like, that you want to watch, you have to figure it out. And sometimes you have to pay for 4 or 5 different streaming services to watch the combination of things that you like to watch. And is that better than paying a cable company, a couple of $100 a month? I don't think it's really any better. In fact, I think it's getting worse. So this whole deal with the writer's strike and the actor's strike, I think will hopefully wake them up a little bit and start to push them in a better direction, where they can make better decisions about how we get our entertainment, because they're still not making money. And they're trying everything they can, and it's just getting more convoluted. So, listen, give me back my cable box. Give me back on demand, and I'll pay for a movie, couple of bucks, $3 for a movie, and I'll watch it with no commercials. Or I'll buy it on Blu-ray, and I'll watch it that way. Look, let's take a few steps back. Anyway, am I going to talk anything about drums? Let me see. Do we have some time? Yes, we do have some time. Of course I'm going to talk about drums. But like I said, on the MarkZDrumcast, we get a little bit of everything. We get life advice. We get movie reviews. We get video game reviews. We get all kinds of things. By the way, the new Rebel Moon film by Zack Snyder, Part 1, A Child of Fire, in my opinion, it's pretty terrible. Huge disappointment. Some nice visuals, but if you take the cantina scene from the original Star Wars, A New Hope, and you couple that with the Thanos destroying half of Gamora's planet's population and then taking her as his daughter, which is exactly what happens in this movie as well. And then you do a movie like Krull, where you go from place to place to gather people to help you on your quest before you get to the end of the movie, and then you try to do the quest or whatever. That's in there. There are just a ton of cliches and sci-fi movie. You can call them homages. I'm going to call them just, lazy writing and the same old story all over again. And then mix in quite a bit of silliness, and there you have it. Huge disappointment. I'm a Zack Snyder fan. I'm a Justice League Snyder Cut fan. I am a Dawn of Justice director's cut fan, and you know, just a mess. Man of Steel. Um, so really, we're going in a really terrible direction in all areas. I am also a huge Marvel fan, or I was. My fandom is waning because the product is waning. The first 11 years were glorious. The plan was solid. They executed the plan. I have a friend now who's actually watching all of the movies in order for the first time, and I'm getting reports from her, as she's experienced it, and it's getting me excited to experience the original 11 years again, and how good it was and how well it all worked together before that saga ended, and then it's just spun out of control, mostly because of Disney Plus and their need to just flood that platform with content, whether it made sense to the MCU or not, whether it was based on characters anybody cared about or not, whether it was even passable quality or not. It went up on Disney Plus. And as time went on and the story got more convoluted, and actually there was no story, it just got so frayed and unfollowable, if I can make this word up. It just got to the point where who cares? There is no continuity. There is no thread going through. There is nothing to watch the next thing about because it does not further the story. You don't care about it. And you don't care about these characters that they just throw randomly up on this streaming service just to populate the streaming service. And that's all it is. Same with Star Wars. If you're a Star Wars fan, I mean, listen, for me, it was all downhill after the first three, and I know a lot of people will say that, and you could tell me, yeah, okay, boomer, or you're an old man, or whatever. I get that. But really, there was nothing good that came out of Star Wars, in my opinion, in the prequels or the sequels. And then once Disney Plus got a hold of it, oh my goodness. The beginning of The Mandalorian I enjoyed. And then it spun off into this Filoni-verse garbage that I don't care about. And I don't think many people do care about. You're going to see a lot of cartoon characters come to live action and even feature films now, from that whole side of Star Wars. And yeah, again, it's just more stuff. We'll take the most fringe characters that nobody knows about or cares about, and we're going to do a limited 6-episode series that you can't really get into anyway because it's only 6 episodes. It's only 8 episodes. It's poorly done. The CGI is bad. The writing is terrible. Just look at Secret Invasion. Oh my God. What an absolute waste of time that was. Anyway, are we going to talk drums? You know what? Now it's getting less and less likely that we will talk drums. But I want to play some drums. I want to talk about drums. All right, let's talk about drums. This is the MarkZDrumcast after all. Let me see. Is there anything else I can critique? I'm enjoying Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. The only problem is they've decided that it should be Fortnite. And we're going to get all these costumes and neon fluorescent colors that we can make our guns, and we can have superpowers like in the Boys TV show, and we can do all of this crazy stuff now in Modern Warfare 3, and which used to be somewhat of a realistic simulation, and that's when it was really good. But then they just started to venture into. They saw the success of Fortnite, and they said, well, let's bring in, whatever IPs that we can get, and let's allow our players to like wear their skins and put things on their guns and have superpowers and all that kind of shit. And really, it's really kind of disappointing. And I'm trying to search. Maybe there is a mode, but I'm trying to search for a mode that's just old school, hardcore Call of Duty, realistic simulator type of warfare. And that's it. I don't need to be exploded into, red mist and all this kind of stupid stuff. I just want to play the game. But I think It's definitely a thing that the video game industry has become a very adult industry, as well as for kids. But I think the expectation now is that a lot of adults are playing video games on a regular basis. So I have no shame about it. You can tell me to stop playing games. I don't play all that much anyway. I don't even know why I'm talking this much about it. But I guess these are some of the things that have been on my mind. And as we come through the holidays, these things come up to the surface. And we're going to talk about that soon, too, probably on Friday's show, because we're going to be talking about looking back on the previous year, and looking forward to the year ahead and what we might want for ourselves in this new year, and what changes we might make from the previous year through the new year. One of the changes I think a lot of us can identify with and relate to, one of the changes is, hey, I want to become a better drummer. I think that's a very fair, even if it's broad, a very fair resolution to make. And a lot of times I think resolutions are broad because that makes them easier to achieve. If you make them wide and broad, you could say, hey, well, yeah, I can say I'm better this year. So my suggestion would be to probably let's narrow that down a bit, right? Let's be a little more specific about what we want to do, and set realistic achievable goals, yet set goals that actually mean something and will give us progress. I could say, yeah, I want to be faster, but how do we quantify that? How do we measure that? Well, what we should do is we should take a baseline at the beginning of the year and say, I could play my single strokes this fast. I could play my double strokes this fast. I could play my double bass this fast. Time yourself. And then you have a baseline to work with. And then you could say, well, okay, what percentage over this baseline do I want to achieve this month? And then in 6 months, where do I want to be speed-wise? Well, I'd like to get up to this BPM with my double kicks. But the way you get there in 6 months is by setting monthly goals that are achievable, that will motivate you to continue to work month after month after month till you get to that 6-month mark and you can see where you're at. So progress, there needs to be some kind of measurement. There needs to be some kind of baseline that we can work from, that we can then compare to where we are down the road, 3 months, 6 months, a year from now, this time next year. And then we can look at that and we can say, okay, this is where I was, this is where I want to be, this is where I am right now. And that's one thing that will help us to progress. Because if we don't really know where we started, and we don't really know how much faster we may be or may not be, it's very hard to stay motivated because we don't have any concrete evidence to show us that the work we're putting in is actually making a difference. And I think that's what we need to do most of all. I know when my students are young and they first come to me and we first talking about practicing, they don't believe that practicing, they don't understand what practicing can do for them. So I have to challenge them and say, well, this week, I want you to practice this many days for about 15 minutes a day or 20 minutes a day. And when I see you for your next lesson, I want to know if you did that, number one, and then I want to know if you feel like it did anything for you, if it helped to make you better. And so if they go through with it, they can not honestly tell me that it didn't make them better. You know what I mean? Like they have to admit and say, well, yeah, I do feel like I'm faster, or I do feel like this is easier to do than it was a week ago. So that's what we need to do. We need to introduce a baseline, and then we need to introduce incremental levels that we can see and recognize as progress, so that we can understand that practice has benefits. And when we see those benefits, then we go, oh, wow. You know, and there's nothing better than a student that comes in and they can play something much better than they did even a week before. And I said, did you work on this? And they smile proudly and say, yes, I did. I said, well, I can tell, you know, I can really hear it. I can really see the progress that you've made by putting in some time and effort and practice. So that's super, super important. So I think that if we set a goal that we want to be better drummers in 2024, and in 2025 we want to have reached a certain milestone, I think we have to start off by knowing where we are now and honestly assessing our abilities at this point in time so that we can move forward and then we can put in the time and the effort and see where it takes us. So that is my talk about practice. When we sit down to practice, to go along with this idea of understanding where we're at and being able to set achievable, realistic goals, we need to structure our practices in such a way that we can have a meaningful practice session, which means when we sit down at the drums to practice, we're going to do this, then we're going to do this, then we're going to do this, then we're going to do this. And if we structure our practice time that way, we can definitely see better progress because we're taking an organized approach to practice. Now, yes, drumming, there is a huge component of it that is creative and that is built on our creativity. And creativity is something that we also want to build as we move forward in our progress. We want to get more creative, so we want to work on that creative part of our drumming. So my suggestion would be reading, rudiments, beats and fills, timing, and then a creative portion of our practice time, where we either play along to songs or we listen to music in such a way where we can get ideas about beats and fills, or we practice being more musical on the drums, using the drums and the toms in different ways where we could be more musical. So I like to build in that creative component into our practice time, you know, but I don't think it should be 100% of the practice time because then there's no real direction. Work on a certain rudiment. Then during your creative time, work out different ways to use that rudiment around the drum set, for example. What sounds cool? What can I do? What parts can I use? And how can I move this rudiment around the drum set where it sounds musical and it sounds cool? So there's an example of taking something that is based on technique and then bringing it into the creative realm to try to apply it in a creative way around the drum set. So that is a huge part, taking your rudiments and applying them to the drum set. But it's just a good way to illustrate that we need technical work and we need creative work in order for us to really grow in a balanced way. So if you have any questions about what my topic was today, which was a whole lot of spouting off about social media, the music industry, the entertainment industry as a whole, streaming, commercials, terrible product, all of that stuff, and a little bit of drumming tacked on at the end, go ahead and write a comment down below, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you want. Go over to my Patreon if you want to hear more of the same and you want to see some exclusive content for my patrons. Go ahead over to my Patreon at MarkZDrums at Patreon. It's $3 a month. You can be part of the community. You'll get a sticker and you'll be able to request a song that I will cover on the drums and put up on the Patreon before anybody else gets to see it, so you can see it exclusively. There are some other perks supporting what I do here. I love what I do. I'm a teacher. I teach in person, but I also try to educate online. I have virtual students. I work with student bands, a lot of things, and any support is greatly appreciated. So, have a great week. Enjoy. I hope you're recovering from Christmas time or whatever holiday you celebrated. I hope you had a wonderful time. And I hope we can get ready to ring in the new year together joyously. So that's it. I have to get I have to move my co-host. Then I have to get to my mouse in order to shut this live stream off. Hold on, Louie. Louie, come on, buddy. There he is. Good boy. All right, let me try to get this done here. And there we go. I'll catch you next time.